Today we're going to have a conversation about Adventures in Dungeons & Dragons, which releases July 16th. Wizards, better not screw this up. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. If you're new to my channel and you're finding me out there in that Dungeons & Dragons world of YouTube, thanks a lot for taking the time to check out my content today. Best thing you can do to help a small YouTuber is, of course, subscribe to that channel. Smash that button. It's free to do. All right, guys, I got the work part out of the way. We are having a conversation today. It is going to be about Dungeons & Dragons and the fact that Magic the Gathering on July 16th, because they own the property rights. This is their product. They are putting out a Magic the Gathering Dungeons & Dragons set, Adventures in Forgotten Realms. Now, for a lot of us who've been around the block a little bit, I played this game all the way back into the mid-'80s. We started out with Tunnels and Trolls at a friend's kitchen table, and we sat there a couple Saturdays toying around with this one little book, and he would read us bits of a story. And you had to make choices based on that story, kind of like the old Choose Your Own Adventure novels. You can look those up. And based on what choice you made, certain things happened. And depending on what character you were, you could react in certain ways. Now, for those who haven't played Dungeons & Dragons before and you've only played Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons is an adventure storytelling game where a dungeon master, the guy who kind of is your orchestrator of your campaign, he's the one telling you what's going on and the choices you get to make, will give you opportunities to make certain choices to lead you down certain paths, to have your characters advance. They could die, they could level up, they could find better gear, they could get into a situation that gets them all killed, depending on what you do. So that was the Dungeon Master's job. You as a player, as a character in the game, you had a character sheet. Right here, you see this one? This one is from about 1998, okay? Now, this character sheet will have stats on it. It has your real name, your character's name, your race. Are you an elf? Are you a halfling? Are you a dwarf? And based on the character you chose, you had pluses and minuses. Those pluses and minuses went to your attributes. Are you strong? Are you intelligent? Are you wise? Are you good looking? Do you have good constitution? You're a big, strong guy. Depending on what class you chose, you needed certain stats, vitally important, to level up as a character to get bonuses in the higher levels. A cleric needed wisdom. Mages and wizards, well, you guys had to have intelligence. A fighter, of course, relied on strength and constitution. A thief would rely on dexterity. You see where I'm going with all these stats? They were important. They were part of the game, and you were hoping to live long enough to level up as a character from level 1 to level 2. We used to get together after we finished with Tunnels and Trolls, and we jumped into Dungeons and Dragons somewhere in the early 80s. I'd say like late 80s, 87, 88. We got in there. So most of my knowledge is locked in 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons because that's what we played, okay? I didn't go on to the further realms of Dungeons and Dragons because I'd already paid for all the books. I already had everything. And there was a lot of books to collect if you really wanted to. You could go with just the basics and use your imagination. But in my background today, you'll see there's like a Dungeon Master's Manual, which was rules just for the DM so we understood things. Players weren't supposed to read it, but they often did, so they could argue with you about a rule. But there was also miniatures, collectibles. You could take a miniature here. They would come as just a silver figure, made of metal back then. This one's from 1988. This is an iron golem. And you would paint these miniatures. And it could take hours, and you built little battlefields and little dungeons and little areas on a table where you would all look down and decide on the situation of what's happening to your characters. Well, I'm left of this guy. I'm going to do this with my sword. And you would tell the dungeon master your choices. It was an amazing game. And the longer you lived, the better gear you got, and the gear was recorded on your sheet. And your character would advance and advance. Some people in my campaigns made it as high as, I think, level 21. But when we got to those levels, which took a couple of years to get there, if nobody died, you would actually have smaller campaigns running with lower level characters because big campaigns took a little bit longer to put together to make it engaging and storytelling like. And that's the thing about D&D is Wizards is putting out a product right after Modern Horizons. July 16th, Dungeons & Dragons Adventures in Forgotten Realms will hit the table. It'll be there at your store. You can buy it. And for a lot of us who have been D&D fans and played campaigns since our childhood, this is an amazing opportunity to be simply thrilled that they're putting out products like this. Now, they've tried before, by the way. Okay? We've had a movie in the year 2000, Dungeons & Dragons, 21 years ago. This movie got slaughtered. In Dungeons and Dragons, this movie starred Jeremy Irons and Thora Birch, I believe. It was a bad movie, okay? The idea was there, but when you take magical, amazing, crazy, intelligent creatures like a beholder, which is like this big round ball with little eye stalks. Think of like Big Trouble Little China. The creature stabs, right? But in D&D, those creatures are super intelligent. They have like multiple powers and abilities. They're like one of the toughest things you can ever face. And to have it reduced to the role of a dog in that movie was horrible. And it bombed it for everyone. And then, even before that, we had Spellfire, which was a collectible card game based on Dungeons and Dragons. They had expansions in Ravenloft, which is one of the worlds. They had Dragonlance. They've had opportunities with these licenses before. So Dungeons and Dragons has had a very sordid past of not getting its due. And here we are again with Wizards with another opportunity. Not under their company's leadership before, but TSR originally was them. They own TSR though. This is their chance to make a Magic the Gathering product based in Forgotten Realms and do it well. And although our expectations are up here, my expectations are high, I've realized that I may be hit in the face with a disintegration ray about how bad this set could go. I could have the most powerful wizard Elminster, arguably against Raceland, who knows, fireball me in the face and kill me off. Because if they don't do this set well, people like me, I will boycott it. That's how strongly I will feel one way or the other. Okay? I expect to see certain things in the game. That's my expectation. That's my opinion. D&D is a leveling game. I expect to see the leveling mechanic. I thought we'd have the party mechanic with the leveling mechanic. That's why they introduced it, I thought. So we may not get that for all I know, because they said the party mechanic won't be there, I believe. You can correct me that in the comment section. But as a player who spent weekends with my friends devising crazy stories and adventures and multiple choice of where they could go, preparing battlefields and little sketch maps, and getting really involved in what's going on, to have it blow up in your face and say we're not doing that could go very badly for Wizards. I mean, horribly wrong. Dungeons & Dragons has a very amazing, rich lore and history to it. They've explored multiple worlds, multiple realms of existence, from Dragonlance to Dark Sun to Ravenloft, which is kind of like an Innistrad type deal, okay? Except for the bad guys always win there, pretty much. They have novels, stories, games, toys, all based on this. Some have been successful, some have not. But when you look back to the original game, you had a character with a character sheet. You had bad monsters inside books like this that had stats on them, so you knew how to use them. They came in little 3-ring binders back then with like cool artwork pictures. I think this one's 1992 for Dark Sun. And to have a product like this fall flat on its face is not worthy of Dungeons & Dragons. So hopefully Wizards has done this. Hopefully they've done it correctly. Hopefully they're prepared for what players are expecting. And they've looked back on things. Taken some lore, some history. Brought characters forward. We expect to see, I personally expect to see characters like Drizzt Do'Urden there. If Drizzt is not there, if they don't include major characters from those worlds, then it's like not being on that world at all. If you don't have Waterdeep in there mentioned, and Thay, and Zental Keep, if you don't have Menzoberranzan, the Drow, Beholders, Displacer Beasts, Umber Hulks, if you don't have these creatures, these games, this flavor of Dungeons & Dragons history and past brought into the Magic set, then what was the point of making it other than slapping a label on and saying it's Dungeons & Dragons? I really hope Wizards doesn't screw this up. My personal expectations are quite high, and I'm serious, I would just boycott it. If it doesn't have at least certain aspects that I can look forward to as a player when this product comes out, when this hits the store shelves, when I guess it'll be mid-June when they do the spoiler season. If I don't see that stuff, Modern Horizons 2, we got the spoilers probably mid-May, right? As soon as those things hit, I'll already be thinking D&D, I know. My mind will start going because it's getting closer and closer, right? And as I put money aside saying, oh, I can't wait to see the collector box, the set booster, I can't wait to see the spoilers of the cards inside, I'm expecting to see certain characters within that set. I want to see the races that belong to that world. I want to see halflings. I want to see drow. I want to see humans. I want to see half-elves. I want to see those races represented in Magic the Gathering. I don't care if Wizards bring some planeswalkers in, of course. But the iconic characters from these worlds must be integrated into this. Or for somebody like me who loves D&D and doesn't just play Magic, I'll be devastated. For those of you who just play Magic, this probably won't seem much different from a regular Magic set. But for the multitude of D&D players who have played both over the years, we have a certain expectation. There's a lot of fans out there who are probably kind of on the sideline. I've talked to a lot of my friends. They're kind of perched on the side. Even guys who don't play Magic, who only play D&D. And they're thinking, if there's some of the characters I like in there, I'm at least getting the cards of it. So they're still thinking of getting it. But for the guys and girls who played this game for the last 20, 30 years in Dungeons & Dragons and also play Magic, the expectations, Wizards, are going to be high. Don't screw this up for us. Do a good job. I know you probably already printed the cards and they're kind of sitting in warehouses. I hope you did it right. That's all I can say. I don't like to fetch it and complain, but the more I think about it, my expectations are up here. If you only give me a 1 or a 2 out of 10, I'm not going to be happy, Wizards, and I will boycott your product. That's the way it's going to be. Now, for those out there who are new to this, man, leave me your comments in the comments section below. For D&D fans and Magic fans alike, what do you guys think is going to be coming down that pipe? I'd like to see that soon. Guys, have a great one. This is MTG Mox, man. Looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a great one and have a great D&D Magic day. See you soon. Hey guys, big shout out to all my patrons out there. You guys are rocking, man. Thank you so much every day for tuning in, supporting the channel. It really means a lot to the continued growth. You guys are amazing. You guys deserve respect, all right? Patrons rock, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys. Do you know back in the day, Iron Golem, I would have him face off against a rock giant. Or I think this one actually was called an Earth Elemental at the time. But when I looked it up in the book, this is from 1977. So it was an Earth Elemental at the time, but they repurposed it later. It was like such good fight scenes we'd have back in the day, having those campaigns. And by the way, 198 Telpai. And I think the Undead Dragon here was from Mary A. made it, some artist named Mary A. And I think I got this in 1990. Imagine that. D&D's so awesome. I hope they don't screw it up. Please, Wizards, don't mess up. Have an awesome one, guys.